President Trump is speaking publicly for the first time since a week of defeat in Vietnam and on Capitol Hill, ditching his prepared remarks at CPAC and delivering one of the longest speeches of his presidency, sounding off about the Russia investigation, former Attorney General Jeff Sessions even mocking his own infamous calls for Russia to find Hillary Clinton's emails.
Unfortunately, you put the wrong people in a couple of positions, and they leave people for a long time that shouldn't be there. And all of a sudden, they're trying to take you out with bullshit, okay? Robert Mueller never received a vote, and neither did the person that appointed him. And as you know, the Attorney General says, I'm going to recuse myself. And I said, why the hell didn't he tell me that before I put him in? If you tell a joke, if you're sarcastic, if you're having fun with the audience, if you're in live television with millions of people and 25,000 people in an arena, and if you say something like, Russia, please, if you can, get us Hillary Clinton's emails. Please, Russia, please get us the emails. Please.
So this caps off a week marred by controversy. The president's former attorney naming names and handing over financial documents on Capitol Hill. New explosive reporting that the president forced the approval of his son-in-law's security clearance. And the president walking away empty-handed at the summit with North Korea's leader in Vietnam. I'm joined now by CNN White House correspondent Boris Sanchez. Boris, the president's audience today filled with his strongest supporters. This is arguably a re-election rally. What case did he make?
Hey there, Anna. The president certainly said quite a bit today. He made clear early on that he was going to go off script, and then he went all over the map. The president speaking for well over 2 hours, at one point saying that he wished it was 2020. He's clearly eager for that campaign battle that lies ahead. The president talked about the crowd size at his inauguration. He talked about Democrats and a radical agenda, saying that the United States would never allow for socialism to take root in the country, something that we heard during his State of the Union address. And the president also attacked the press and even current and former members of his administration, as you heard in that soundbite. Notably, though, the president also talked about the reasons he believes that Democrats on Capitol Hill are investigating him and his administration. Listen to some of what the president said.
So they don't have anything with Russia. There's no collusion. So now they go and morph into, let's inspect every deal he's ever done. We're going to go into his finances. We're going to check his deals. We're going to check. These people are sick. They're sick. I saw a little Shifty Schiff yesterday. No, it's the first time. He went into a meeting and he said, we're going to look into his finances. I said, where did that come from? He always talked about Russia. Collusion with Russia. The collusion delusion.
Now, on one really interesting moment of this speech, keep in mind the context here, the president returning from Vietnam after a failed meeting with Kim Jong-un that didn't deliver the deal on nuclear disarmament from North Korea. The president talked about negotiating with Kim Jong-un, and he talked about having to walk a fine line in trying to negotiate with Kim and also sympathize with the family of Otto Warmbier. Remember, Otto Warmbier's family put out a statement yesterday that was scathing about the way that the president dealt with the North Korean leader, and here the president is sort of explaining why he dealt with it the way that he did, even though yesterday he tweeted that his comments about Kim Jong-un were misrepresented. Anna.
All right, Boris Sanchez at the White House. Following the president's address to CPAC, joining us now, Samantha Vinograd. She worked on national security issues under President Obama, and Mark Mazzetti, the New York Times Washington investigative correspondent. Mark, President Trump, with his riff against Mueller, Comey, Rosenstein, Sessions, he went on, talking in a very cavalier way today, joking about his Russia, if you're listening, line from the campaign. Does President Trump really understand just how serious the Mueller probe and other investigations are?
Well, he certainly made it a point of an object of his criticism for years now, and he was getting to the heart of it today with this sort of point that the Mueller investigation was illegitimate from the beginning, that Jeff Sessions recused himself, Rod Rosenstein, who he said had never had a vote, ended up appointing Mueller, and so this thing should have never began. And so it's something that obviously the crowd likes. It has been a point that he has made repeatedly, and as we believe the Mueller investigation is winding down, this is something you're going to hear from the president and his supporters for some time. As you said, he continues to make light of it. We'll see whether Mueller actually has reason to make the president certainly concerned not only about the Russia issue, but also the obstruction of justice issue.
The president also said this today. Listen, guys.
The men and women here today are on the front lines of protecting America's interest, defending America's value, and reclaiming our nation's priceless heritage. We have people in Congress, right now, we have people in Congress that hate our country. And you know that. And we can name every one of them if they want. They hate our country.
Sam, the idea of preserving heritage taps into historically darker times, certainly. Not only that, though, you say what we heard from the president in those remarks also could pose a national security concern.
Well, his statement makes me sick. On a personal level, preserving our heritage, reclaiming our heritage, that sounds a lot like a certain leader that killed members of my family and about 6 million other Jews in the 1940s. But on a national security level, the president talks about preserving our heritage as a catch-all for implementing policies that misallocate resources. He pretends that there are massive flows of illegal immigrants coming over our borders and is spending billions of dollars on a border wall emergency instead of paying attention to real national security threats. He sounds a lot like despotic leaders that have talked about white heritage and white nationalism around the world and is putting resources in the wrong place and pretending that there are foreign people trying to influence our country in a way that just isn't accurate.
Who does that speak to?
It speaks to his base. And it also, by the way, this whole CPAC speech, how many parts of President Putin's to-do list was President Trump trying to accomplish today? He denigrated our institutions, the Department of Justice and the U.S. Congress. He spread misinformation and conspiracy theories. He undermined the credibility of several of our institutions. He sowed divisions. He sowed confusion. He was speaking to his base, but he was also saying things that really look like Vladimir Putin scripted his speech. So it helped him perhaps with his base and politically, while at the same time making Russia's job a lot easier.